I can't believe this is the finale of Squid Games. It felt like the finale should have happened in the first season. If it weren't for its well-known success, that's what we're going to talk about today. Focus on season 2 and 3. There has been a lot of criticism from all sides. Many people are unhappy with the series finale. They dragged it out for no reason, created a stir among viewers to answer important questions, and ultimately left them unanswered, and even more.
Whoa, wait.
On the one hand, that may be true, but today, despite some of the criticism, I'm going to praise the series in its entirety, considering the entire concept, plot twist, acting, and the finale itself. I'm going to answer the question of whether the show really ended the way it was supposed to and why Gi-hoon really won. So be sure to watch this video to the end. Let's go. If most of the negative reviews about season 2 came after the abrupt ending, because compared to season 1 it was effectively one season split into two, they just needed to keep viewers hooked for as long as possible. And would Netflix have missed that opportunity? Ridiculous. This season the dissatisfaction only grew. They essentially didn't ask for anything. But season 2 and 3 weren't about that. If season 1 focused on the game itself, introducing viewers to this universe, the characters, how people behave in such situations, who will win, who set it all up, and so on, then season 2 was more than competition. It was the competition between Gi-hoon and the frontman, Hwan and Ho. A rivalry of morality versus cynicism, nobility versus hypocrisy, good versus evil if you will. After all, season 1 ended exactly at the moment when a grained Gi-hoon, after winning the game, wanted at least an answer. Why was it all for? He got this.
경마장인 말. 의외였어요.
After that moment, the phase of revenge began, through which Gi-hoon wanted to restore justice and prove to the game's organizers that they were wrong. That's where their competition begins. Next, Gi-hoon assembles a team and begins searching for the person recruiting the top gambling addicts into the game, properly fully. But, of course, as always, everything goes wrong. He finds himself again alone in foreign territory, trying by any means to stop the game and save the people trapped in it. Here we must focus on Hwan and Ho. The solution and completely detached from his past, he sees no purpose other than running the game. But then, Sun Ji-hoon appears on the scene, and the frontman, fully convinced of his sovereign righteousness, wants to prove to Gi-hoon that he's wrong, that reality is different, that the people Ji-hoon embraces appears very different, is one step away from abounding every drop of morality. And in Ho finds no better way than to break Ji-hoon, and for a moment he succeeds. After the players fail the attempt to end the game by radical means, and after losing friends, Ji-hoon almost gives up. By the way, consider how absurd the situation is. Players trapped with no exit, surrounded by armed guards, full surveillance system, and they managed to inflict huge losses, almost sizing victory if it weren't for logistical problems. That appeared to be the main climax of the series. But no, first it was pushed to the third season, reducing emotional impact due to the break between seasons. I think if they aired continuously, people would have connected more with the characters. And secondly, after all this, the focus shifted back to the game itself, so in some way the plot feels disjointed, but that's just not where the focus was. When Ji-hoon returns, he loses any incentive to continue. He's broken inside, that's why he was left alive. And who had to prove that all of Ji-hoon's efforts were in vain, that he had lost. So for several hours of screen time, Ji-hoon disappears from the viewer's view, and we switch to other important characters like Cho Han-ju, Kim Jun-hee, and Chan Him-ja. After all, they remain the less positive characters, the ones most revealed in the previous season. Then it goes as far as Kim Jun-hee giving birth. It seemed finally they were safe. The baby should be taken care of and Kim should continue playing. But no, everyone goes nuts and the baby becomes a new player, especially considering the fact she didn't choose this fate unlike the others. At that point, Jang Him-ja lost her mind and reached Gi-hoon, telling him he had to help protect the baby no matter what. And at that moment, he realizes that now he must save her at any cost. The child is innocent, caught in the middle of these games. And suddenly, he finds his drive again. Here, it's important to clarify. Gi-hoon is not only battling In-ho, but himself. He finds his own doubts, which have overwhelmed him. In season 2, Gi-hoon almost collapses eternally when he loses friends during the chaotic radical attempt to end the game. Through the acting, he clarity conveys the loss of inner motivation. And In-ho shows an eternal struggle of his own between the remnants of humanity and the desire to control the game. In season 1, we see him as a regular father with depths. Season 2 transforms him into a resistant leader unafraid to challenge the frontman. The third season proves even winners can be soul-sick after battles, and the actor sharply and direless the inner anxiety and fear of defeat. Speaking of the climax of the series, when the endgame begins, it's the most successful satire of democracy you're likely to find. It tells the story of what happens when a tool like democracy falls into the hands of Mikey with grenades. Another key moment when common sense trumps our cynicism. When In-ho puts Gi-hoon in his former position, when In-ho was a player, and gives him a weapon and a chance to end the game right then and there, allowing both to walk away. Gi-hoon doesn't fall for it. Remember in Kansebyok, that's when the actor explodes with emotion, tears, despair, and finally determination. In-ho tries to break Gi-hoon psychologically, leave him alone, make him doubt the people he saved. Gi-hoon, on the other hand, shows resilience. Despite all the provocations, he stays true to his principles. All this absurdity is underlined by the colorful of contrasting palette of the game complex, pastel children motives against brutal reality, and then the final resolution. To me, we once again see that his series is, above all, a drama. I considering player 333, who spent half the game pretending he deserved a second chance from Kim, but in the end revealed his true self for his own victory would end it all. After Gi-hoon endured this showdown, he realized that the button was never pressed, so the round never started. And if one doesn't fall, he will die. Really, all you feel is, what if he'd pushed the button, but it turned out as it did. And the last round of competition begins, the battle between Gi-hoon and In-ho. And at the end, Gi-hoon responds,
우리 말이 아니야.
and this phrase shattered the opponent's entire ideology, because humans are living beings with empathy and free will. Players are people with their own experiences, emotions, choices. This phrase hooks in her heart and breaks the system. The game's rules were based on objectifying participants, but a human can never be treated as a sword to be used without consequences. The final line is just a pretty quote. It's an explosion on worldview that forces you to reflect on your own free will. Even in the most brutal circumstances, humanity wins. Before the final scenes, Gi-hoon approaches Gi-hoon's body and realizes that the only one who lost was himself. Gi-hoon achieves a psychological victory by overcoming his eternal contradictions. On the level of the frontman, again, when he was given a weapon, he used it only for self-defense. But saving the child, he symbolizes the purpose of the fight, symbolizes a new beginning. And even under such conditions, it is possible to remain human. This message he can confidently say, the ending is unintended, and Gi-hoon's victory becomes a symbol of unwavering faith in humanity. Of course, the plot hole and criticism of brothers in whole storyline remain dark spots, but overall, the third season of the Squid Games is a refining psychology with a powerful moral. This concludes a massive experiment in which the system tries to break human nature, but in the end, fragile freedom and compassion triumph over mechanical cynicism. And Gi-hoon himself confirmed this when he challenges the protagonist at the last moment. Well, it won't be a novelty if I say that the weakest part of the series is the storyline of In-ho brothers, which it seems was ended poorly to dilute the series so that it doesn't contain only fragments from the game itself, and it seemed to make sense from the very beginning. But in the end, the potential just deflated, and it seems to be that this moment made season 3 seems empty in terms terms of content, specifically in terms of the plot component. It was only thanks to the fact that at the end, when In-ho handed over Kim's child to his brother, that it was possible to combine all this with the whole path he had traveled in search of the island. If it wasn't for that, it would have really looked like a separate story in the background. After all, even that what create a series that people talk about or remember long after watching it, a story that managed to be remembered for a fairly long period of time and which then sets a huge number of trends and forces people to emulate it. When the first season of Squid Games was released in 2021, it entirely blew up Netflix ratings, a record 165 billion hours of viewer on its first month. The franchise has moved into the realm of a true pop culture phenomenon. Customers from the show have become a trend at festival. Memes and adaptations are appearing all over social media. The second season has completed this trend, generating new decisions. Isn't this what creates a story that seems far from perfect, but still reveals the main idea of the narrative, leaving behind a huge flurry of decisions and different assessments, which it turns allows it to spread farther and farther? If not, then what?